Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to solve Leetcode Problem 56, merge intervals. The problem statement says, given an array of intervals, merge all overlapping intervals and return an array of the non-overlapping intervals that cover all the intervals in the input. So the problem statement is a little bit difficult to understand, but the examples are really helpful. So let's take a look at the first one. So we're given this input with 4 intervals, and we see that in the output, the last 2 intervals are exactly the same as the input. But the first 2 intervals are converted into one interval because they have an overlap. It's a lot easier to visualize the overlap if you see it on a graph. So if we graph the first interval 1 to 3, and the second interval from 2 to 6, and then 8 to 10, and finally 15 to 18, we can clearly see there's no overlap here or here. But looking at the first 2 intervals, they overlap from 2 to 3. So we can say that the combined interval goes from 1 to 6. So that's how we get our output, where the end result has no overlapping intervals. A pattern that's also good to notice with merging interval problems is that the first number in the merged interval is the first number of the smaller interval, and the second number is the second number of the larger interval. Another thing to note is that it's a lot easier to do these problems when the intervals are in sorted order. If we know that the smallest interval doesn't overlap with the next largest interval, then we know that there's no way it can overlap with any other interval in the list. All right, so hopefully that makes some sense. Let's flip back over to Leetcode and start coding. So like I mentioned, the first thing we want to do is make sure that our list of intervals is sorted, and we'll go ahead and sort it by the first value in each interval. Let's initialize our merged array, and at the end of this function, we'll return it. Now let's go ahead and loop through our intervals. If the merged list is empty, there's nothing to compare this interval to, so we can simply append it to the list. Otherwise, let's check the last value in our merged list and compare it to this current interval. So the last value is merged at -1, and we want to look at the second value. If it's less than the first value in the interval we're looking at, then there's no overlap. So we can do the same as before, and we can append our interval to the merged list. We can actually go ahead and combine these 2 conditionals. So if this conditional is false, that means we found an overlap. So what we can do is look at that last interval and set the second value in that interval as the maximum value of itself or the second value in our current interval. Okay, let's go ahead and submit this and see how we did. And it looks like our results were pretty good. If you have questions about how to solve this problem or any other problems on Leetcode, drop a comment below. And if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.